All right. We seem to be going live, I think. So let me tweet the link and everything like that. Give me a second for people here. Where is the link? I've never done this before. For people who are here. Oh, there's the chat. Okay. So let's figure this out. La da 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 da. Now my thing froze. Not so good. Okay. Hello, 3 people watching. Hey, anybody know how to share the link from the current YouTube dashboard? Oh, there it is. Link to YouTube. There we go. Let's test this out. Yes. Here we are. Okay. Hello, beep beep. I'm a Jeep. Hello, guys. There we go. We're working now. So, good stuff. If I play this, will it run audio? No. Yay, it's muted. Okay. Awesome. So I'm just going to tweet this link, and then we will get started showing you my lady bits. Feel free to make that dirty. Har har. Okay. Tweeter. Okay, good. Somebody else stayed up half the night. I did too. You'll notice exhaustion, so tired. 1 hour sleep, lots of coffee. It's gonna be a good stream. All right, going up to Twitter. You guys can hear me all right, right? I've never done direct to YouTube with this microphone before. Now, Facebook. Night Watch sounds ominous or cool. All right, thanks, guys. Just posting the Facebook link, which I have to do in 2 places because Facebook is Facebook. Post here. And okay, go, 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 go. Sorry for the delay. And then here. So you guys can start asking questions if you have them. I know some people have already backed. If there are, we can jump in right into questions, or I can go through the whole thing. But people in chat are saying they've already backed, so maybe. All right, that's all done. Yeah, night. I used to edit nights. Um, and I'm talking to the chat right now. Somebody's working nights, and they said the few times I've been on Night Watch, it's been boredom mixed with anxiety and terror. I used to edit nights, and it was about that. All right, so some people here don't know what's going on, so I will start from the beginning. This stream is because I am launching a Kickstarter. Hey, my friend Sean Rooney's in the chat. Yay. But let's see if I can do the switch. Ooh, OBS. Exciting. Here we are. I am launching a Kickstarter about a project called Lady Bits. You see, there's already 46 backers and $3,700 raised of a minimum 16.5 goal. Really awesome. Very excited. Really good start. But what Lady Bits is, there's a video here and everything like that. There's a link. There should be a link, yes, in this live video that you can click through to the Kickstarter and look at yourself. But what it is a reaction to the mistakes I think people have made when where women in gaming are concerned, the discussions of women in gaming are concerned. The way Lady Bits works is, instead of it being it's okay to watch games with problematic content, I don't even know how that goes. I'm bad at that. The way Lady Bits works is I will essentially present at least 2 points of view on any given subject. And I'm not going to tell you which one to support. You can back one side, you can back the other side, you can back a viewpoint somewhere in between. It does not matter. The entire purpose of the exercise is that you just think about it and engage with the content and give a poop, you know. That's funny. Someone in chat said that when one backs Kickstarter, Kickstarter recommends other project. All of the top ones are cat rescues and charities coming off of my Kickstarter. That's really funny. And Momo thinks you're cool. You'll see King Bob is playing Pac-Man still from yesterday. I forgot to move him. Thank you, Traveling Storyteller, for the backing. So the first 6 questions that are in the video are, why the heck? Oh, right. Because I'm just bumped in here. The first 6 questions that we're going to be tackling together are, and you can watch this all in the video. I guess I should switch over to the page. Here we go. Switching over to the page. You'll see I put a little dossier style bio. Thanks for a guy on DeviantArt who had this really cool template that I could use. And look, credit, not that hard. But I've got a little bio for people who don't know what I am, and for people who do know my YouTube stuff, a little bit more things you might not know about my extended game journalism stuff and TV production, just so you know that, you know, my team, meaning my husband and I and the cats and the dogs, are capable of producing a show of this magnitude on time, on budget, all that good stuff. But the episodes are, the first one is the Lara Croft reboot really more feminist? Gonna take a look, challenge the assumption, and I don't want to get too much into what we're going on about there, but the intention is to essentially make it a more nuanced and complex conversation than her clothes and her boobs and her lips and all that stuff. I want to get into the actual stories. I want to get into her character motivations. I want to get into her history as a Byronic heroine, you know, an anti-hero kind of roots. And I just really want to examine Lara Croft from all sides, and not the way we all used to back in, you know, the Tomb Raider 1 and 2 days. We used to push Lara artificially into a corner so to make the floating camera zero in on her boobs. We all did it, and now you look back on it, it was so dumb, because they're cones, they're points. But it's a bit of just giving the character her due, looking at it from, you know, a gamer's perspective. It starts off, one person in chat said, people who don't know what I am, are you admitting that you are a stack of cats inside a human-shaped suit? Oh man, that would be cool, wouldn't it? I wish I was a stack of cats inside a human-shaped suit. Now, I'm not sure what I am. I'm pretty sure I'm a mutant of some kind, because I'm allergic to a lot of things. And one person mentioned literally the devil bit in chat. Tomorrow is apparently, according to one Patreon, my 666th public video. So we will be doing something to celebrate that tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fun. And yes, I actually am a gamer. I've been a gamer since I was 3. That's all in the video. But the next episode after Laura. Oh, hi, Brad. Yes, we need to talk. Brad Glasgow is awesome. I just said that on the internet. Yay, Brad. And the next question is, where's the line between sexist moments and a sexist game? And you'll see here, it's easy to point out sexist moments, but since video game about choice, do these moments actually reflect the overall tone of the game? I want to get in here to actually some game design stuff to show that games aren't movies. Movies can be defined in the public consciousness by, that smiling at you twice scene in Basic Instinct. I don't know how else to describe it. There are scenes in movies that are iconic, that kind of freeze in your brain. Games aren't like that. And so I want to use this question to sort of get into why are games games? And someone in the chat asked, not much exposure to Lara Croft, favorite game. My favorite game of all of them, and it's hard to kind of separate, but, from as a game, Tomb Raider Legend is my absolute favorite Tomb Raider game. The story continues in, what is it, Underworld? But Legend was just... The first two games were a lot of fun and did a lot of things really great, but Legend, I don't know. I was just like, ooh, something just hit me with that game. And I loved it. It was everything. And I think the chat is a little bit behind what I'm saying. So, old KMT, I will answer your question if you still want me to answer it after it catches up. I'm going to go on to the next episode in the meantime, but please re-ask. Yeah, chat, Underworld was iffy as a game. Didn't dig the Norse stuff as much as I liked. Legend was the one with all the Arthurian myth, right? I remember that. I think Legend was the one, just personally, where I got what a Lara Croft story was. And I have to keep saying Lara, like Mario, because I am Canadian and we like to A everything. So I say Lara and Mario, and people give me shit about that. So Mario and Lara. But Legend was the one where I realized, like, oh, wow, there is actually a Lara Croft story in that she gets the shiny, she gets the object, whatever, because you have to win. Players have to have some sort of satisfaction. But she tends to lose on a moral and personal level. And that's what I absolutely loved about the character. Like, oh, wow. Because you know how Indiana Jones was kind of the opposite way? That he'd always get some personal advancement, but he never got the Ark of the Covenant or, whatever he was going after. The Cup of Christ or the Holy Grail. That's what it's called, right? Oh, man. Blanking today. It was almost the opposite, that Lara tended to find the tomb or get all these artifacts and everything like that. But that thing that's driving her, that need she had to sort of control things through knowledge, she never accomplished that. And I feel like they haven't recaptured that in the new games. And I'm talking about this because this has nothing to do with whether the character is more female friendly or more feminist or anything like that. This is just talking games as the game. But the next episode, I'll go back and forth. Apologies for people watching this later. I am focusing on the chat because the whole purpose of this is to thank you. I like blue too, chat. See, but the whole purpose is to sort of answer questions. Yeah, we have somebody with a French-Canadian wife in the chat. Good, you'll understand something of my strange accent that is a mix of Tennessee and Canadian PS Tabernacle. The next thing is, should game developers care about complaints of sexism? And this is one of these questions where, my gut instinct is, of course they should, knee jerk. And these are the moments where I've had to go, wait, that's what I want. From a business perspective, there could be a completely different answer. And that's going to be the whole point. Showing multiple sides, to showing that these are complicated questions. These are not easy. And I'll get into more in the coming days about how we're going to do that from a production and stylistic viewpoint. I don't want to blow everything today. Oh God, we're all saying tabernacle to each other in the chat now. What have I started? My friend Seb will be so happy. I have a friend in Montreal, and he speaks English and French both fluently, and I sent him a article in French once because I thought it was really interesting, and he said, "Oh, man, don't send things to me in French, it confuses me." And that's how I feel when I'm talking to people who aren't gamers. Like when I have to switch back between gamer and normie, it's a bit of a challenge. Chat asks, have I played Child of Light? And if so, did I enjoy the game? I have played Child of Light. I have not finished Child of Light. Not because there's anything wrong with the game. I think it is beautiful and very cute, and I actually like the rhymey. I am so backed up. One of the things I'm going to do during these Kickstarter periods is do some more live gameplay. I've had a friend lent me, what is it, Dead or Alive Extreme 3? The volleyball game that everybody lost their ish about. So I'm going to play that for the first time live because I think that'll be fun. And I think it'll give people a sense of kind of who I am and how I come at these things. Because I expect to laugh a lot. And I've had this since like winter. He gave it to me when we met to get snow tires put in his car. It says how long it's been. So Brian, I will get your game back to you once I use it. I want to use it for this show. Maintenant le pas français en chat. How do you say chat in French? Is it just chat? I know it's a big hairy deal in Quebec. Like we had to say courriel instead of email because you can't say email. But then Quebec is all franglais. No, I have not played Zelda Breath of the Wild yet. Another one. I did not get a review copy of Breath of the Wild, and so I was trying to power through Andromeda. I was trying to power through what was the other one? I played a really cute game called Phoning Home. I've been using an early access thing. It's a game called Echoplex, and it's going through some builds right now. So I did a little bit of coverage on it, but then they introduced a new build, and I'm like, okay. So I've been kind of busy. One person asked about women in Metal Gear Phantom Pain. That is one I am going to withhold for now, because that is definitely going to be in the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Should game developers care about complaints of sexism? That is definitely going to be some of the subject matter in that, because that was a big one where, everybody went, quiet. And then after it came out, Kojima went psych. And there's some debate on how well it worked. So that's definitely going to be something. Somebody asked, is this going to be a solo project or a plan to work with others like the former Infinity dev or Rich from VTech USA? This is one of those things. I'm going to see how it goes. Right now, because of the way gaming is, people are quite happy to talk off the record and on background. Talking on camera, different story. And so I would rather get good content. I would rather people have the ability to speak freely than have somebody on camera. So I do plan to have guests on the program. We'll see. We'll see. I don't want anybody to lose their job because they helped me out with this. Somebody asked, do I think some game devs wag the dog on sexism? I don't think deliberately. I think a lot of people are way too concerned about offending. The issue more to me is that what different cultures consider sexist is very different. I mean, an Eastern European feminist is very, very different than a feminist in North America. Their concerns are different. Their belief in what's gonna, move women forward is very different. Where they're at is very different. And so you take a developer like CD Projekt Red, and, from a North American sensibility, a lot of people go, oh, what are they doing? And I admit I was one of those people. But then when you kind of research and take a culturally relativistic approach to it and understand kind of, what's going on and what did go on in Poland historically, it's a different story. So this is all going to be, obviously Grand Theft Auto is going to be a part of this. And Grand Theft Auto was the one that made me think about it. That episode was inspired by I looked at a sales chart, and sorry, I'm reading the chat as I'm talking. I'm going to ignore the chat just for a minute and go back to it so that I finish this thought. I pulled up a sales figures chart for the best-selling games of like the year before that, and I'm like, wow, the correlation between games that got accused of sexism and games that sold incredibly well is pretty high. We have Grand Theft Auto, we have Witcher, we have Mortal Kombat, we have, so from a financial standpoint, I realized then, wow, I can't necessarily argue that sexism is bad for business in AAA. So that's one of those things. Somebody defined wag the dog. Yeah, what wag the dog is, it says, used to indicate that attention is purposely being diverted from something of greater importance to something of lesser importance. And I don't think that's deliberate. I see the correlation. Having talked to some people at these, for lack of a better term, social justice studios. I don't really like that term because I think that most game developers care about the world and making, not being an asshole. But they don't deflect with issues because they think their game is garbage. I think sometimes development teams do get bogged down in distractions, but that's a workflow thing. That's not an ideological thing. Nobody sets out to make a crap game, right? It's like nobody sets out to make a crap. Well, that's not true. Some people do set out to just make crap movies because they know they'll make this much money. Sorry, I bumped the mic. They know they'll make this much money, so they make it for this much money, and they don't care if it's especially good. But games, they're too much work. There's too many people. You're away from your family for too long. Nobody sets out to make a crap game. They happen sometimes, and I think it's really important to understand why various games were crappy. And I find it's usually that the direction from above was not strong enough in terms of game design principles, and part of that is because we're still figuring out these philosophical things with game designs and the psychological things with game design. We've got a lot more locked down than we did, 5-10 years ago, but we're still trying to figure out what makes a good game, right? There's all these philosophical differences of opinion about choice and about, you know, how open is an open world perception of freedom versus actual freedom, perception of choice versus actual choice. Does a choice have to have a consequence in game? If a choice has a consequence, does that cease to be a moral choice because the player is doing it essentially to game the system? These are all things that are philosophical back and forths, and every studio takes a different approach to it. Um, oh, throwing shade on Steam Greenlight chat. Very funny. I don't know if people watching this would um, get it, but it says, okay, one person said, I'm going back. Oh, there's a lot more. One person said, what's your take on Polygon taking a shot at Activision and Sledgehammer over Call of Duty? Free speech. People do what they do. I don't know. I don't like to get in the drama. If there's a concept, I can explore it, but I'm very much I don't like shutting down opinions. Gaming journalism right now is driven by clicks, and a negative headline will get more clicks than a positive headline right now. And that's something I'm hoping to change with this series, that if we can have fun and make money and have people give a damn and be very positive, you know, you can be analytical and you can examine things and critique without being a critic or a hater. You know, you can engage with critical thinking without having a negative attitude, if that makes any sense. And that's part of the reason I've sort of stepped away from writing for other outlets, is there's such pressure to go negative, to get those hate clicks, you know, to get those hate watches. And that's just not my thing. Gamers deal with enough. And I feel like every time somebody goes negative, you're dragging everybody is just trying to have fun down with you. And that's not fair. Somebody else said, The Witcher felt like playing a video game version of the fairy tales my Polish granddad told me, which was my first connection with media. So crazy, blatantly Eastern European. Yeah, I mean, anybody who's played The Witcher, I absolutely recommend you read the books. There are great translations out there now. I read the short stories originally in fan translation. Even those were great. So I can only imagine what the official translations are. But the metaphor of scars on the characters and the descriptions and how Sapkowski built that world. I actually think Triss is better in the books. I think they knocked it out of the park with Yennefer in the games when she was finally there, but it took a while to get there. I much preferred Yennefer as a character, as Yennefer as a plot device. Much preferred that. But give the stories a read, because they're short stories. You know, you can take them piecemeal, but they're so good. They're just... It's so cool because a lot of non-English... literature doesn't, the beauty of language doesn't translate to English, but these stories do. They're so neat. Does incorporating institutional sexism, racism into the setting of a game make a game sexist, racist, such by enabling participation? Yeah, that's, this is what we're going to get into. And I don't want to give too much here, because we're going to get into it in the episode. But this is the fundamental thing that movies and television don't have, that games do have. And that's choice. And there, I mean, to move away from specifically sexism to just gameplay choices in general, a game like Papers, Please deliberately puts you in this sort of fascist, totalitarian, uber security phenomenon. And the interesting thing about that game is how the pressures the game puts on you affect your choices. And I found that a really interesting interactive experience. Not pleasant and I never got very good at the game, and I didn't feel to put the time in to get good because it was so bleak, but really interesting experiment in deliberately making the game an asshole to you to figure out how it would impact your choices. And I think that because a game like Papers, Please is a sort of cautionary tale against that, I think games like that can make you more resilient to the influences, to the thinking, to the propaganda that goes into that. And so the game's setting is not the game's message. And now that doesn't mean you can't end up with a game that actually is sexist, but that has more to do with systems and design and all that stuff. But I don't want to get into too much because that's for the show, and it's going to be really interesting, and it's going to be really cool, and I don't want to give too much away. It's so hard because I'm excited about it. I don't want to overtalk it. And Dino Poop Becoming Diamonds, Pop Progressivism, oops, sorry, the, talking about The Witcher, sorry about the pauses, guys, I'm reading. Really? The fan translations of The Witcher are far superior to the official translations? That's interesting. Okay. Then I read the good ones. I really enjoyed the fan translations. They were really good. I was actually disappointed that the games didn't have the Zeracanian, more Zeracanians in it. The first game did, but you know, The Witcher 3 was the best game, but I missed the Zeracanians and I missed the Scoia'tael, and just the so cool, you know, is this because just I remember this one story where they're in, you know, Geralt's meeting with this guy, big fat dude, and he's got these two female bodyguards, Zeracanian bodyguards, and the book describes their scars in detail and how proudly they wear them, and it was just such a beautiful metaphor. And it's like, this is a kind of feminine experience that we need more of. Because now we normally have the, oh, I'm a tough action hero, but I have flawless skin. Or they have one tiny little scar there. And they just went for it in the games. And I just thought it was so beautiful. And it was almost the dialogue was besides the point. It was the way the scene was set that I thought was so cool. Moving on, enough Witcher fanning. About 2 years ago, I said there was a place in gaming for feminist critique. At the time, I didn't think there was. Since then, you've been created content that convinced me there's a place for it. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think there's like I said, I think there's a difference in critique and criticism. And I think that, like anything, a feminist art historian still has to be an art historian. You know, a feminist, whatever. Feminism is an adjective you put on your expertise. And so feminist game analysis, I don't like to use the word criticism, I don't like to use the word critique, analysis has to be done from an insider perspective, not as the other, you know, not as an outsider looking in. It's got to be done from the perspective of a gamer. And I have found you guys have been very receptive when it's done that way. Somebody else said, what do you think of the Witcher author hating the Witcher games as he didn't make much profit on them? I don't think he really hates them. I think he's just a crusty old guy. Like, the more I hear about this guy, the more I think Geralt might be a self-insert. But he is a grumpy old dude. And authors just think their stuff's the best. And I've got a couple friends who are authors and they've optioned their stuff and they're like, I just want the check, and they will give me money, and that's all I expect from an adaptation of my work. They don't want to be involved. They don't want anything like that because They know they're going to be cranky about it, which I respect. Another person said probably the best aspect of The Witcher, a non-Central European person could have a hard time to understand. It's a sense of humor, which is just spot on region. Yeah, it's I have Polish. My sister married a Polish guy, and they just got married in December, and it was, I have kind of a dark sense of humor too. Um, it so I absolutely know what they're, unless you're kind of exposed to that. My husband's family is from Poland and Lithuania as well. So I have more connection to it than most. And it is different from Western sensibilities. Although within the West, it's very different too. I mean, British comedy is certainly not the same as American comedy. Um, Someone else said, English is the language of analysis. This means any media translated into English immediately has to divorce itself from the concept of subtlety. Source, all Japanese games anime. Okay, that's funny. Bunch of stuff. Let's see. Oh, somebody says the Kickstarter is at 20% funded. That's exciting. Let's get back to the Kickstarter. Sorry, my Polish grandmother and great aunt would argue about whose arthritis was worse. Somebody in the chat says, yeah, not like this. That's what I always get. Not like this. It's so true. And it is the same with the Irish. It's the same with the Scots. It's the same with, people tend to think of occupied peoples as a racial thing. It's really not. That gallows humor comes from being, a battleground. People keep saying they plan to invest. Just so you guys know, I've been saying this to a few people because apparently people don't know this. When you back a Kickstarter, your card is not charged immediately. It is charged. It says there's a 4-week charge period after the end of the Kickstarter. So there's no need to wait unless you have to make sure you have the money. If you're just waiting for the money to come in, your card is not charged until the end. So if that's the issue, back now. If you have to make sure you have the money, different story. But if you're worried about your card getting dinged like today or tomorrow, it's not gonna. They don't charge until you've until it's funded. And wow, there's almost 100 people watching this. That's amazing. So let's move on. Come back here, OBS. Let's move on to the next episode. How do games benefit from having women on the development team? And this should be, if at all, but it was too small. It was too long to fit on this thing. There's already a lot of words. The research on this has been dense. Somebody from KeyCon in Winnipeg. Hi, Charles. I love KeyCon. Hi, Winnipeg. Hi, KeyCon. I love you. Miss you guys a lot. But this one, the research really surprised me. Writing this one is going to be a ton of fun. I get to, dive into the Harvard Business Review and a lot of stuff like that. I'm really trying to make sure I've got all the information because, man, this topic sprawls. And so I'll leave that there. Somebody says they live in Utah and the boring state of Utah. Utah's beautiful. I really enjoyed. We drove through Utah on a bus with like 30 comic book nerds from. It was run. They called it the Happy Harbor Land Cruise. There's a comic book store out in Edmonton. Unintentional plug here, called Happy Harbor Comics, and they still might do it. They did a bus tour down to the San Diego Comic-Con, and one of the stops was Utah. And on the one hand, we found out we stopped in a dry county, which perturbed some people. We're Canadians. We like to drink. But the people were very, very nice. And I also have a soft spot for Utah because one of my weird claims to fame is that I did a paper for a historical conference on Mormon cosmology in the Twilight Saga. And that was how I became more aware of Mormonism and Mormons and cool. And someone said Ohio is the worst. I lived in Athens, Ohio. Kind of boring. Pretty, but boring. Yeah, I did a paper on Mormon cosmology in the Twilight Saga. Okay, the chat's gotten dirty. I'm gonna move on. Story for another time. But yeah, Twilight actually, I'll dig it up. I'll try to find it, maybe for patrons. Twilight actually fulfills all 13 articles of the Mormon faith, including basically the tribe of Israel refounding in the US, the werewolves, which are a tribe, and yes, I will go through the reward tiers. The tribe, the werewolf tribe, all has that they have the names of Jewish matriarchs and patriarchs. That one, I'm like, how is that one gonna fit? Oh, it did. The vampires not drinking human blood, only drinking animal blood is kind of a metaphor for not having caffeinated beverages or alcohol. They do have a form of magic underwear in Twilight. And it's not magic underwear. People call it magic underwear. It's not. They don't think it's magic. It's, if your underwear is showing, you're not dressed modestly enough. You guys all know how I feel about modest dress. This outfit wouldn't even pass the mid-arm mark. Moving on. But how important is a female playable character? This is another backdoor look at game design. And I'll drop a hint on this. One of the characters we're going to look at is Vas Montenegro from Far Cry 3. Not a woman, I know, but it's important to recognize that sometimes the playable character is not the most important to the game's tone and all this stuff. Sometimes. Again, this is going to be a complicated back and forth, which I'm really looking forward to. Someone said they prefer Momoism to Mormonism. Very different. Momo is all about the someone mentioned Link and Zelda. Yeah, this episode, the female playable character episode, is definitely going to get into the difference between playable character and title character, and look at point of view writing in literature, as well as kind of a backdrop to understanding this sort of thing. And yes, Momoism does need a codex. I love codexes in video games. Anytime someone says the word codex, I get excited. So yes, codex. And then of course what's healthy sexuality and what's sexually objectifying. Survival horror is gonna be big on this one, as is Bayonetta. This is a topic that I'm very interested in. I don't want to jinx myself by saying that's going to be a pretty easy one to write, because I said that about Gamer's Guide, and the ones I thought were going to be the easiest ones to write, it meant I was taking too many things for granted. Is the episode going to get into set characters versus custom characters? Yes. Character customization is definitely going to be a thing, because it's going to get into gender performance, and things like that. Some of the theories we touched on in Gamer's Guide to Feminism. If you haven't seen Gamer's Guide, you might want to go back and at least watch the theory. Bevan, there's some of that. I don't want to talk about it too much, but yeah, there's definitely going to be some of that. But yeah, I mean, based on the chat, you guys are getting what I'm saying as a gamer. Like, you guys get this stuff. So I think that's super cool. And yeah, awesome. Somebody asked to go through, we're going to skip through the budget because it's all there and it's kind of boring. This bolded part was something the patron actually suggested, saying people might not know it's in Canadian dollars. It was the patron backers who looked through this thing, especially a guy by the name of Colin and a guy by the name of James. They went through the whole thing with a fine-tooth comb and really made this thing more professional in terms of text. I'm very grateful that way. But you'll notice in the budget that game capture is something I've thought of a lot here. And, I don't want to just swipe somebody's stuff and say, fair use. That's not right. People put the time to capture this stuff, and especially the older games. I mean, Legend, fortunately, is on a Xbox 360, which I still have. I lent my PlayStation 3 to a guy who was in the hospital, and he ended up dying, and so I never got my PlayStation 3 back. Really sad story. But a lot of those PlayStation 3 games, I think might be streamable. But anyway, one of the things is going to be going through and figuring out what the best way is to get some of this game footage. But one of the things I know I am going to have to do, especially in, those PlayStation era Tomb Raider games, I'm going to have to find somebody who either has the footage or has a working console and can capture it for me. And, to incentivize that, I want to provide a small honorarium. I mean, it won't be a lot. It's just more of a thank you than anything. I think some people won't want it, but we'll see what happens. I just want to make sure nobody feels like their stuff was used without their consent, and that, permission's given and everybody has a good experience with this. And and thank you, person who likes something I did. How long am I stream? How much longer are we streaming for? I'm not sure. I was planning on going for an hour. I may go a little longer because people wanted me to go over the incentives. So let's do that now. Let's get that through. I'm just here to answer your questions. Here, guys. So ask away. Somebody did ask stretch goals. Does anybody want me to go through stretch goals? They're pretty self-explanatory. These are not the only stretch goals I have. I have actually plotted 21 episodes of this series with preliminary stuff for yes, I have considered Undertale for this series. So there are an additional 6 or 7 not listed here. And then there's a bunch of other things like closed captioning, like described video, like, if this thing goes on a run, it absolutely, I stopped at $50,000 just because I didn't superstitious. I know I didn't want to jinx myself, but also I want stuff to be able to add. So if we get up to, the $35,000 mark, I'll add the other stretch goals so people can see what else I have planned. And yes, it may involve blackjack and hookers, chat. But I've produced shows for nothing, like Gamer's Guide to Feminism. I've produced shows, where we were moving millions of dollars around back in TVs. So I am more than happy to make this thing fill the available space. If we fund a second season in this whack, awesome. I mean, the sky's the limit on this concept, because what happened is I created a format. And so we can just take this format of doing pro and con, not taking a side. And it, so we can just, sky's the limit. So right now I've got, I'm getting a hum on my headphones. That's weird. The extra episodes of the first stretch goal, shooting a series in 4K. This is a nice to have because a lot of the VOD streaming services, things like that, want 4K content. My ultimate goal for this stuff is to get it onto something other than YouTube where normies can start getting another impression, because, some other series that I won't name, but you'll know what I'm talking about, I noticed little things like they said PG rated instead of, E for everyone, or T for teen. The that was catered to a non-gaming audience. And while this series is definitely for gamers, I think a lot of people who watch Netflix or Amazon Prime or these, downloadable services, there's probably a huge overlap in terms of gamers. So if I could get some sort of series on one of those services, that'd be so awesome. And that stretch goal will move me up to that 4K range. We have the capability to edit. We just don't have the camera. The camera is like $6,000 up here. Will I be doing, I guess, responses to tropes versus women as part of this? I've already done some of that. This is its own thing. Some of the positions taken in that series will be incorporated because it is a viewpoint. This series isn't designed to refute anyone or to tell anybody what to think. It's to present information. The thing I noticed is that people are very receptive until you start trying to say, you should think this, and then a wall immediately goes up. And it's like, okay, if that's the stumbling block, don't do it. And it's that's basically my approach. So there's no I've considered doing something about the end of tropes versus women. I want to be really careful because you guys know me. I attack ideas, not people. So somebody asked, is there going to be a part showing the current reality of women in the games industry? Yes. That's the I hate scrolling on screen, but that is the how do games benefit from having women on the development team? This question allows me to get into the realities of female game development. And yes, I do intend this series to be funny. If you look at the video for the Kickstarter, that is going to be the tone. Cabbage Patch face and cleavage and goofiness, and the whole reason I named the show Lady Bits was if somebody's going to get offended by that. And this was something I ran by the it was developed as a feminist guide to gaming. But that wasn't going to be the title. Wanted something catchy. I got so sick of writing a gamer's guide to feminism during that. But the name, if somebody's like, oh, that's disgusting, they're not going to like the show. It's going to be too irreverent. It's going to be too sex positive. So you title a series trying to attract the audience you want. And I want an audience who's willing to have fun. Laugh with me, and who isn't going to get weird if a cat jumps in the shot or something like that. Because if it's a good take, I'm not going to cut it out just because a cat walked through it. What about a segment? You know what? Somebody asked about porn created from games like Overwatch. That would be an interesting topic. I'm going to write that down and figure out if that's going to be a stretch episode. Because that is an interesting kind of meta phenomenon. It's my view of Lara Croft. I did tell my view of Lara Croft as a character, chat. I did. I said I think she's awesome. She's a female barbaric hero. That's great. There's a defined story. I went into all that. I know that guy was here. Why didn't it go through? I don't like it when people feel like I didn't answer questions, because I try, and I get sad when people feel like I haven't answered their question. But back to the stretch goals. Woo. You see one trip probably to LA, but we'll see. There is a journalist, I don't know if I should announce names or anything right now, but she has agreed to possibly do some remote stuff for me. Down in Los Angeles and places like that. So, and somebody asked, did my last question get buried? It's possible questions did get buried. I'm bopping back and forth and trying to ask a lot of things. So it did get buried. Please re-ask if you feel like it just, if you feel like I missed it. I probably did miss it. I haven't deliberately ignored any questions. They're just kind of blowing past. I said blow. And then you'll see production assistant. This is in part because this is starting to be real money. And I think that job creation, and it won't be a huge thing. It's going to be a part-time contract for 3 or 4 months. That's all. But I think that we will need the extra help. And I think that people should get paid when they're coming in for something. Once you start making like mid 5 figures, people don't want to do stuff for free anymore. These numbers are open. It's obvious some people are really cool that way. They just want to see it do well. But yeah, I do want to hire a part-time assistant. Just somebody who's good, doesn't necessarily have to be female. Here's the question. What is better, a game which has only a male or female protagonist, or a game which gives a choice of which gender a game wants to play? It depends on the game. It isn't that a locked-in playable character is better or character customization is better. It's what type of game is it? And in an action-adventure game, for instance, the playable character is informed by the gameplay, and the gameplay is informed by the playable character. I mean, Kratos' combat in God of War, for instance, is so influenced by the fact he has those swords on chains, those slightly loose control styles, or people consider it loose, is because you've got that, and it feels very balletic when you start doing combos and things like that. God of War with a customizable character just would not have been the same game. That is the story of a dude, who has been through shit and back. The Last of Us the same way. Uncharted. It's going to be interesting to see where they go with that franchise, because that was so much that sort of likable rogue thing. So we'll see how it goes, whether that's going to be the brother and Sully or whatever. I don't know. We'll see. But sometimes a well-defined main character can really add to the game. Other times it's really fun to be able to customize a character. A pet peeve of mine when I customize characters is that the choices don't matter. Angry Elder Scrolls Khajiit right here. The Khajiit tend to be distrusted, and because they're druggies and thieves, and it almost didn't impact things at all in Skyrim, and I was really disappointed by that. So if you're not prepared to do a whole bunch of extra things to account for those races and things like that, I'd much rather someone just made a locked-in character and told that character, told the story through that character's eyes, especially in third person. I personally think BioShock Infinite should have been a third person game. I know that's not the BioShock formula, but they tried to have it both ways with Booker DeWitt. They tried to have that first-person protagonist, which is a window onto the world, and then they tried to give him his own character and story. I much rather would have been able to see him like, even in cutscenes more, the way they did with The Darkness. Like, The Darkness was the first-person game, but you got to see Jackie in those monologue load screen scenes. I much would have preferred that, because they did give Booker a lot, unlike the Doom Marine or Chell in Portal, which is, you don't really care what their hopes and dreams are, right? Here we go again. How to back this right as a dev, especially if I can't tie my company to decisions like this. I work there. I don't own any part of it. What do you mean back it right? As in, will your donation remain anonymous? It will. I don't know what company you work for, so because I don't know what company you work for, that's not going to influence me. I don't want, if somebody wanted to sponsor this as something to talk about, if a company actually wanted to sponsor it, it would have to be disclosed. Individuals are just individuals, and, it is what it is. The discussion of whether to publish backers' names is going to be something that people, if you want to be listed in the credits, if you want to be listed in the thank yous, great. If you don't, because of that, that's fine. I think that's the way it's going to work, but that's something that we will discuss, and the format for that will come up when we get to the incentives, but that's something that will be discussed with the community, and what the backers are most comfortable with in terms of disclosure and transparency and due diligence and all that stuff. Funny, someone, wait, where'd everything go? Everything, what? Somebody asked about a Frank Cho cameo. No comment at this time, possibly. I know that was a joke, but I have thought of something. Oh, Chloe is Uncharted. That I could see that. Oh no, I answered the question about race and character customization, and the person was away when I answered it. How do I feel about customization in a series like Dark Souls and Bloodborne? Oh man, I didn't really like the axe in Bloodborne. I haven't played Dark Souls 3 yet. I bought it on Steam sale. It's sitting on my computer, but I haven't played it yet. The perks, the numeric level ups in those games, I find don't matter very much. It's much more about innate skill of the player. So unless the customizations are really amazing, the way the alternate outfits were in Soul Calibur, or the way, Saints Row was just hilarious, or some of the utterly ridiculous armor in The Witcher that I just thought was, The Witcher 3, that I just thought was hilarious. I am not a big customization person. I am so not sex typical in that regard. So I'm the wrong person to ask about customization. Someone, Khajiit did nothing wrong. Khajiit innocent. Yes! Another Khajiit fan. Going through. Oh. Yeah, Doom Marine hopes and dreams to smash things. Exactly. The tight over-the-shoulder perspective in Mass Effect seems to be a great compromise between the character richness of third person and the utility of first person. I can't appreciate Mass Effect in that regard, because the first game that I saw that did that and did it amazingly was Dead Space, the original Dead Space, with the life bar on the back of the exosuit. The minimalist HUD on that game just blew my mind. Somebody backed, thank you. Wow, there's a lot of Khajiit players in this chat. That is exciting. Somebody asked about Alice the Madness Returns. Alice the Madness Returns is actually in the talk I do at colleges. So American Mickey's Alice and Alice Madness Returns will likely end up in this series somehow. It's not slotted quite in. And yes, I am going to bust some myths with women in gaming. Just because I don't expect the hate brigade. Maybe I'll be completely wrong with this, but I do not expect to get... Now, my threshold's a lot higher, but I don't... Just by doing this and not getting sucked into a harassment narrative... Yes, you did hear the cat. That was Binky yelling just there. I'm so used to it, I didn't even notice, and then I see him walking away like, I'm the man. That was Binky. But I think just by doing this and not having it descend into this constant pity party harassment narrative, I think that's going to do something. I think if we can make this a positive experience, part of it, you know what? Hold that thought. Let's get through the stretch goals and then get to the incentives, because that will answer some of these questions. What do Khajiit do for me? They're awesome. I like playing the most foreign, exotic, other in a game. Give me the ugliest race. When I first played World of Warcraft, it was like elf, dwarf, human, cow person. Done it. Yes! You know, there were a few others, but the Taurens were the only thing I was like, I haven't seen this before. I haven't encountered this before. Boom! And so, you know, I was all about that Krogan, and I was all about the Qunari. I tend to mix up Qunari and Quarian, very different games. But I love that stuff. I want to be a monster in games. And the Khajiit, I was like, Argonian Khajiit. Khajiit! I mean, you guys know me and cats. Also, I think Shema from Quest for Glory made me a little bit gay with her dance in that one game. Like, that little 8-bit character shook her thing right there. And so it's like, oh, they look like Shema. Memories. There we go. Overshare time. Cabbage Patch Face. That wasn't a very good Cabbage Patch Face. There we go. Moving onward. Stretch goals. I got totally... And, I love the tieflings. Somebody brought up tieflings in Dungeons and Dragons. I have such a weakness for tieflings. Hardalise and Anna from Torment. Hardalise was obviously from Baldur's Gate, but tieflings all the freaking way. Okay, back to the Kickstarter. All right, so stretch goals, obviously faster production, 50,000. This was my original number in my mind when I said, what's it going to take to do this? This is the full number. This is like no corners cut, everything like that. So that's where I stopped it. There are a lot more, up to I think 125,000 fully fleshed out more. If somebody asked, do I have any media coverage lined up? I am doing a radio station interview in Halifax. That's, out in the Maritimes in Canada today at 1 o'clock. So obviously the stream's going to end by then. But I'm doing that. And I've got something else in Toronto. Press releases have gone out. We'll see. I would prefer to do stuff with like YouTubers and things like that. We'll see with the mainstream media. I've worked in the mainstream media. I've been on the both sides of that whole thing. Wow, World of Warcraft. Man, I'm so sorry, guys. Every time I bring up a game, it becomes like this fan love sort of thing. This is what my streams are like. We get so diverted from just gamer talk. I want to get through this. Next, I plan to be doing live every Friday during the Kickstarter. So that'll be our time to just shoot the shit about gaming stuff. And then ask questions and things like that. And yeah, the mainstream media is quite confused by me. I do think YouTubers would be more effective. Here we go. That's a good question, person from Halifax. Do I know? What? I will look that up. Let me see. Cell phone. Excuse me. While I'm looking that up. Whoops. Let's move on to incentives. Blah, 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 blah. You'll see I did a little chart. Quite proud of this. At the $10 tier, I really like. This might actually be my favorite tier in the whole thing. Where are we? Here we are. It doesn't actually say what radio station I am doing in Halifax. That's it's a Rogers station. I will find out and put it on Twitter before I do the interview. This is really funny. Let me respond to this guy. Hey. News 95.7. Oh, my husband says News 95.7. Halifax. There we go. News 95.7. There we go. Alrighty. On the $10 tier, because I didn't want to be too much, because some people don't have any money, but they want. If you come in at that tier, the plan later in the week, I will be going through my set idea board. So you will see how this works a little bit more. But everybody's going to get their name or gaming pseudonym or whatever they want that to be on the set somewhere, either like on a table or on the wall or on the shelf or something like that. The whole idea of that is I want visual proof that there are all these gamers, hundreds and hundreds of gamers who cared about this project and care about women in gaming and care about these issues and aren't misogynist neckbeards and all that stuff. I want a visual symbol so I can kind of like smack people in the face with it, because I'm tired of hearing that, tired of freaking hearing that gamers do this about women. No, I've been a gamer all my life, and I have been in games journalism in some way, shape, or form for over 10 years. I have seen how much things have improved. If people think things are bad now, 10 years ago, some of the shit would have turned these people white. Like white as a ghost, not white the race. Gotta be careful, it's YouTube. But it has gotten so much better. It has improved by leaps and bounds. Gaming is a very young industry, and we are already, our rate of improvement, our rate of inclusion kicks the crap out of Hollywood, kicks the crap out of conventional media, and we get no damn credit for that. So I want a visual representation on the set of all the people that cared. I'm very, very excited by this backer tier. And then the early bird tier, I did these early bird tiers again because so many Kickstarters, and yes, the cats, that's Midna now. Yeah, 3 Demon, let's talk about art stuff. The early bird backer tier, I did the early bird backer tiers partially because some of the access incentives were quite expensive. And I was aware of that, and I didn't want it to be totally like pay to play. I wanted it to be a limited number of people who were just passionate about it, didn't necessarily have a ton of money. I'm also working out some sort of limited lottery system so people know. So it's not like there are other ways to get access that don't involve money. And thank you about the video compliment. But so the early bird incentives were partially to get people to get in now. We had really great momentum today. I haven't checked what the Kickstarter's up to since I've been doing this video, but over 5,000. Oh, that's awesome. But you know, that was the goal, is to get people to back now, so it's not this, you know, because Kickstarters tend to do this, right? And then they surge in the last 48 hours. And I didn't want that. I want the good momentum. I want the feel-good story. And so that was the idea. It's also, you know, if somebody is right in on the bottom line, you should get something for being an early adopter. Like, you guys are the ones backing early and taking the risk before it becomes this phenomenon popular thing. And you should get something for that. You should benefit. I'm all about fairness. Then, you know, a basic tier for when those sell out. And I set the number of these tiers with basically if the early birds all sell out, fund it. Boom. The $50 one was access to, and I mean, this is only like $37 US. And yes, it charges credit cards between June 1st, and then there's like a 2 to 4 week thing. So anything in there, it doesn't charge right away. It charges at the end of the campaign. And then the 100 tier, that's where I kicked in the t-shirt, just because freaking shipping is expensive, man. And it didn't make any sense to, you know, hit somebody with shipping and then, you know, I tried to keep the incentives to 10% of the cost of the tier. And, oh, thanks for giving that website, chat, for News 95.7. And then I'm interested if people will actually go this high. I was going to stop at 100 in terms of tiers because I grew up with not a lot of money. So this is all kind of still foreign to me. But the two $500 tiers are a personalized video and a consulting tier. I wanted things to be meaningful. I've seen other Kickstarters. I've actually helped people with Kickstarter fulfillment who had the best laid plans, did all the research, something dropped out, and then they had trouble with item fulfillments. I wanted to try to avoid that. The thing about the $100 tier default, $50 tier early bird is this feedback session. And a couple people have asked about what the feedback session actually is. So I want to spend a little time on that. And the what are the plans for t-shirt question will be incorporated into what this feedback session is. Because we are going to decide on the t-shirt design together in the feedback sessions. The feedback sessions are creating a little focus group of Kickstarter backers. And what that does is it weeds out the yahoos. So if we do informal polls, if we do opinion surveys, if we do brainstorming sessions, I know there aren't trolls there. And this is very useful. One, it gives you guys some say in what games and everything like that. It also allows me to have less kind of BS polls getting spammed by nonsense stuff. But we're going to talk about, once this is funded, we're going to go episode by episode and go, give me your opinions on, just brainstorm opinions. And those are going to form the bed of how I structure it. So it is going to be very open. This is not just me. This is sort of crowdsourced thought in this regard. You're also going to have an opportunity to submit comments to the show. The t-shirt, we are going to get some designs done. My initial idea, and if you hear Loki barking, he wants in. He's outside and looking pathetic right now. But my initial idea for the t-shirt was like the I Love New York. You'll see it. I don't know. It's kind of small on the thing. The sort of I Love New York design, but it's I Love Lady Bits. I wonder if I can zoom in here. Come on, screen. There we go. Oh, bleh, too much. Oh, it scales the graphic no matter what I do. Screw you, Kickstarter. Oh, I shouldn't say that. You're going to give me money. But you sort of see the sort of I Heart NY idea. A couple people said when I was sort of doing the Kickstarter, not the Kickstarter, the Patreon beta test, people said, I can't wear I Love Lady Bits at work. So, point taken. We might do 2 designs and people can pick. We might do a completely different design. This is really going to depend on what the access things say, what you guys say in these backer sessions. It really is going to be with your guys' involvement and with your guys' opinions. It's going to be Feedback Friday to the freaking max. Someone just, it'll be huge and tremendous, right? Somebody said people wear t-shirts at work. In gaming, everyone wears t-shirts at work. Somebody asked, has anybody been upset at you for objectifying myself in a video? Oh yeah, I did one where I tried to go like be fun. And so I put on like, I forget what it was, but it was PVC shorts and like a sparkly, it was one of my old belly dance bras. And it was all, if you're starting to feel stressed, if you start getting triggered, just look at the boobs. Look at the boobs. I took so much crap for that. It just wasn't worth it I didn't think that men's rights activists would get mad over boobs ever, but some did, and that was a learning experience for me. So yeah, people have gotten mad. Of course, certain people from a certain organization that just wrapped a certain series say I'm bad for women and all that stuff. But like I always say, people are entitled to their opinion. Doesn't make them right, but they're entitled to their opinion. Oh, cool. Someone says for them, I'm on Kickstarter's homepage in the popular section. That's awesome. That's the first time in my life I've been in the popular section. True story, nerd. I should do a video on games that are obviously aimed at male sexuality. That is definitely going to be part of it. I guess, Time to Japan, you weren't around when I was talking about playing Dead or Alive Extreme 3 sometime this week. Kickstarter doesn't support non-credit card pledges. That kind of blows. We'll have to figure out like a PayPal or something like that for people. Stuff like that. That sucks. Someone asked, they were mad at the boobs in the video. They thought I was mad about it. It was about I thought it was a tempest in a teapot personally. I didn't even want to get into it, but so many people asked me. But anyway, they thought it was about the issue that they were mad about. Somebody made one of those stupid like hate YouTube videos, and they got in the comments and they started going on and on and on about how I'm just using my boobs so people will pay attention to me, and that people only pay attention to me because I'm pretty, but my voice is annoying. It was like this junior high school Lindsay Lohan movie Mean Girls crap. And I was like, seriously? Like, and I think they're really funny. There's obviously, based on the video, I'm bringing the sexy back some, but it just wasn't worth people not get. That went on for months. It was ridiculous. I am still astounded by how terrified people on either side of the extreme political divide. Both extremes are terrified by boobs. They are fleshy bags that hang off my chest. Like, they are quite comforting and soft. They should not be scary. I mean, okay, if I turn around real fast and smack you in the face, it probably hurts because it's 12 pounds of sweater meat right here. But, you know, don't be afraid of boobs. Boobs are boobs. They're just boobs. And that's a good word, boobs. You know, you may notice as an Easter egg how reboot is done in the graphic note. Yeah, that's deliberate. Those giant 00. That's... Oh, somebody's backer 69. Congratulations, backer 69. You're backer 69. And what else do we have to go through with this? Because I am actually I can do about another 15 minutes, then I got to get ready for my next interview. Somebody asked before what to show people if they want links to my videos. I put YouTube cropped it funny, but I did put a link in the Kickstarter to Gamer's Guide to Feminism. So if people are going to start somewhere, start there. That's the best. It's easy because it's right there, right? Like, boom, right? I try to make these easy. Testimonials. And a funny thing about focus grouping this Kickstarter in among the patrons. And I mean, patrons, these are people that support me, right? They're not haters. They're not trolls. They're giving me money every month. And, oh yeah, the funding for this also is over and above Patreon stuff. That's been factored in as well. So thank you, patrons. People were concerned that the cat stuff would seem unprofessional or put people off. And I wasn't gonna, I'm starting the call at 1:15 Toronto time. I don't know what that is, Halifax time. I'm doing the call at 1:15 Eastern time on the radio. Where was it? Oh yeah, the cats. So and this is the thing about handling criticism. I'm like, okay, this is a valid point. Like, people are mentioning this. People are concerned about the cats. I'm not just going to dismiss them. But I'm not going to take them out either because that's kind of my thing. You know? Like, love me, love my cats. Momo's a part of this channel. He's an integral part of this channel. He gets the videos every Monday. So I thought, I'm not going to take it out, but I am going to contextualize it. And that's why I've got what's with the freaking cats? And that's why that's there. And then what else can I do in case anybody's asking? Share the snot out of this thing. Share. You're backing this thing. You're saying it's great is much more powerful than me saying it's great. And thank you, Midna. That's Midna meowing. And then, like I said, if you have a YouTube channel, website, podcast, any other media outlet, you're interested in viewing me, send me a message. And if you have suggestions for other backer incentives, please let me know. I'm very open to this kind of stuff. I'm happy to add new things. The physical DVD copies were because somebody mentioned that they like those in Kickstarters. The t-shirts were because somebody said they like those in Kickstarters. So I still can add them. Somebody said some of your cats are named after games. Yeah, I have a Link, Zelda, and a Midna. It started with Midna because she's got the markings like Midna from Legend of Zelda, and Link just looks so, he's always like that. So yeah, oh, bye. And it's, and then Zelda was this little black, and I thought, oh, negative space, kind of passive. And Princess Zelda is a freaking action hero. This cat, she's tiny. She's tiny. What's the issue with the DVDs, chatter? Just curious. What is, okay, just leave comments. the way the DVDs are just going to work is we're just going to record them and mail them out. I'm not sure what the issue is. They're just going to be like universal files. It's not going to be like region coded or anything like that. It's not going to be region locked. That's where you start getting into issues with DVDs. But if it's like a universal file, then any computer can read. That's why I preferred downloadable stuff, but somebody said they wanted a physical DVD. I know that people in Australia have that region lock issue, which is suck. So we will get around that. And no, there won't be a contract with external production companies to produce the DVDs. There's none of that. We do everything in-house. The only thing that gets farmed out is some of the art and closed captioning and described video are things that will need to be farmed out. I have no idea how to do that, but we know some people at an accessibility company, so we're gonna look into that. That's like the next tier of stretch goals after 50,000 is to get that done. So, yeah. What else did people say? One person said they're placing those DVDs next to my copy of Law & Order SVU Season 16. That's hilarious. Completely hilarious. Oh yeah, I didn't finish the names of my cats. So I've got Link, Midna, Zelda. I've got Lagarto, who is named after... He's Lagarto Gatto is his full name, after Lagarto Hombre from the Goon comics. We used to have a Mr. Mrs. Pitlick. He passed away. We got Binky, which is a Terry Pratchett reference. It was funny because he's a black cat instead of a white horse. But when I interviewed Rihanna Pratchett, it was not a very professional moment. We were showing each other our cats, and I'm like, "This is Binky," and because she said, "Is he white?" I'm like, "No," and Binky's like, Oh, okay, I'll pause there. Oh, no, I'll go through the cats. Then I got Delilah, who's just Delilah. And then I got Momo, who's named after the character from Chuck, because he's got beard. Morgan. He hates being called Morgan, so he became Momo. The cats kind of name themselves. We wait until they find names that they agree. And then there's Scout and Bobby, who was named Shadow, but he didn't like that name. He liked being named Bobby. I don't know why. Oh, hi, Zelda. You gonna come say hi? Come here, sweetie. Come on. There's Zelda. My Zelly Belly. There she is. Hi, honey. Yeah. So, one person asked, if this is reported in the press, are you going to try to stop the journos from game dropping? I have decided to just, in the game, the press release coming out from, for Games Press, so the one specifically targeting the games media, I've already sort of crafted that of kind of making the Gamergate experience into a positive one for me. I believe it was. I think they meant gate dropping, but it's right in there saying I think it was a good thing. I learned a lot from it, that this series comes out of my... So it kind of nips that in the bud right there. So that's how I plan to address that. It's just sort of like, it's going to come up. So let's stick handle it right away. Sup? Have I considered shirts? Yes. The shirts are in the $100 tier. Some people are coming in late, so things are getting repeated. And yes, Zelda is definitely growing up, but you guys should see Scout. Scout is on the Momo plan. Scout is like, his paws are like, and freaking massive. Zelda's actually one of the smaller ones. Is it really called game dropping? Okay, cool. Zelda's actually the second smallest. Midna, of course, is the smallest. Be very careful what you name your cats. What game dropping, I heard it gate dropping, but what game dropping means is bringing up the Gamergate controversy to try to get more clicks. And it happens. It's clickbait. I'm prepared for it. Yeah, so that's what they're talking about. It's not fair. It sucks. It's hijacking female developers projects and females creators projects to get this spurious harassment narrative. I am a tough cookie. I am a very big girl, especially in the chest and the butt. The nice thing about having done television and, you know, being on a show that was called Misogynist, and all this stuff, I'm well prepared for that stuff. I know how to handle it. When I did CBC Radio in Ottawa, they started it with like feminists listening to Grand Theft Auto, and I'm not sure if or playing Grand Theft Auto, and I'm not sure if you've seen that video, but oh God, it was a train wreck to start the interview with, and I've gotten really good at stick handling that stuff. So it's you know, it's handled. One person said, game dropping also means that it's irrelevant to the subject. If you see this new car in the wake of Gamergate, it's becoming more important. Oh, geez. Yeah, it's handled. It was a concern. I'm glad you guys brought it up because, yeah, it's something we've addressed. If you look at the risks and challenges, it's implied there. I didn't want to drop the word. I didn't want to rip that off, like rip that Band-Aid off, but I am prepared for the eventuality. So does anybody else have any more questions? Otherwise, we'll wind this down for today. There will be more, live things like this. I want to do Fridays for sure live. We might also be in Tuesdays live. We might do some live gameplay. I tested OBS for this, so it works. Huzzah. If I can get my Elgato card to morph into this. Oh, I could just capture the screen and use, perhaps. Yeah, we will have lots of interactions. Someone says, have I addressed criticism from other YouTubers? I'm not sure which YouTubers you're referring to. I'm not aware of any stuff that's come out lately that has really been worth responding to. I find a lot of those response videos are people talking, and they have the right to their opinions. Free speech is a thing. There's no point in me chasing down everybody who has a criticism of me. There's, critics gonna criticize, haters gonna hate. I watch some of them that I feel are more constructive. The minute they start with the personal attacks and making fun of my appearance or making fun of my voice or making fun of anything like that, or when they start implying I have motivations, like what they think my intents are, like I have some nefarious intent. There's no point. There's no point in engaging with that. That's a when did you stop beating your wife kind of thing. Once somebody thinks you have an intention, you can't disprove that. It's no win. So if somebody has a legitimate criticism or a legitimate concern, I address that. I address that every Friday, right? But if somebody's just want to start something, like somebody did like a 2-hour thing on my last Gamer's Guide, completely out of context to the rest of the series and somewhat misrepresented what I said, there's no need to respond to that. It just, people can say what they want. I saw it. There are some people I have tried talking to that have not. I'll talk to anybody who's willing to talk, right? I'm pretty open. But I gotta feel like it's worth talking. And sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. I mean, I talked to Sargon twice. So yeah, that's about the best I can say. And I know I'm being really vague, but the minute I drop a name, that is, I've learned not to drop names as long as these headphones are great. Rich from Review Tech USA sent them to me on my Monday video. There's a link if you want to get them. They are super cheap for what you get. My headsets before this, they were like way more expensive than this, and they weren't as good. They're the MSI. I still have the box here. They're the MSI DS502. They're really new. But Rich was like, the audio sounds amazing. And I think it gives me a bit of a potato head to go with my Cabbage Patch face because I have really small ears, but Cabbage Patch face. They are great sound quality. They sound great too. And the cool thing is they have like this little controller here, so you don't have to go into the settings, and you can just kind of and adjust it on the fly. But it's $80 in the UK. Really? That's, sorry, 80 pounds in the UK for these things. That's they're cheaper in Canada. They're 50 US. They're like 69 Canadian, which is pretty good. Do I still have the other ones? Yeah, these are the ones I had before. I'm going to give these to my friend Sean now because they're good headsets, but yeah, the microphone on them isn't as good for my purposes. And I like the red light. Like, I like pretending I'm some sort of scanner. Like, yes, King Bob's game of Pac-Man is going quite well. I'm afraid he's a bit of a game hog. I think I'm going to have to let the Moogle have a turn. You've had enough time, King Bob. Okay, Moogle. Now you play. Whoop. Moogle had a bit of a rough night, I think. Moogle looks as tired as I feel right now. There we go. And yeah, they're big cans. Somebody asked in the chat, are they large over-the-ear headphones? I have tiny, tiny, tiny ears. So these are, as you see, they're like way over the arc of my glasses, and they come way down here. They just eat my warm. So that's a Cylon noise. I love classic Battlestar Galactica. So this has just been a mishmash of references, hasn't it? And that's why it's good. And yes, Chad, I said large cans. Okay. So I'll take a few more questions if anybody has any. Get them in now. Otherwise, we will be back on Friday if you think of anything. And before that, I forget when I'm doing it. We're going to go over the set ideas this week. And yeah, 3Demon, just DM me on Twitter. We'll talk. And milestone for Loki video, I've determined is going to be the halfway point. So 8,250, and we'll do a Loki video. Somebody asked what the Loki's my dog. Somebody said, is a video game series aimed at developers, gamers, core gamers, the public? Yes. More crossover with developers and gamers, because developers are gamers as well. There's going to be a lot of theory. This is a show for gamers. If the public, it'll be accessible enough that the public can watch it and be entertained, but it's definitely for gamers. And somebody said, did I finish watching Dear White People? Yes, I finished watching it last night and I absolutely loved it. I know people are like, that title's racist, but you gotta watch it. It's such a great show. I'll do more maybe tomorrow on the Literally the Devil episode. For people who got here late, tomorrow is going to be a celebration of it being my 666th public YouTube video. So we're gonna have a bit of fun with that tomorrow, and I'll review that. Somebody asked what webcam I'm using. I use the Logitech 930C. It's the conferencing, the teleconferencing one. So it's got the white light on it, not the blue light. And yeah, it's a fantastic webcam. And yeah, the title of Dear White People is a reference in the show to a very social justice-y radio host. And it's always Dear White People. And it's all very, but as it unpacks, it unpacks really well, and it explains certain things. It's definitely for a cultural, like there's grape soda jokes, and one of my favorite lines in the whole thing of you're not Rashida Jones biracial, you're Tracy Ellis Ross biracial, people see you as black, things like that. A lot of inside like pop culture references, things like that. But it's so good, and it's so balanced, and a lot of the sort of reviews I read by liberal media types, they didn't like that it wasn't, we are victims and we are oppressed the whole time. It's really funny. And yeah, this is a Netflix, it's the Netflix series, apparently based on a movie or something like that. But the cast is great. Lionel's my absolute favorite character, and he's the little nerdy guy who was a Trek fan as a kid, plays video games. I'll warn you guys, it has the worst fake video game playing in it I have ever seen. There's Mario noises, the spooky castle noise, but they're using PlayStation control. Sorry, somebody called grape soda purple drank in the chat. It just made me laugh. But it's the worst fake gameplay I've ever seen. They're pressing buttons instead of moving the you'll see it, but it's lovely. The first 2-3 episodes is a little bit of what am I watching, but it builds, and the last 3 or 4 episodes are so great. Somebody asked me when my lecture series is going to be uploaded to patrons. I have it ingested now. Yay. Since a lot of stuff for the Kickstarter is going to be public now, we don't have to hide it anymore. I will be putting it up this week or next for you guys. I'm sorry that was so late. That got, this got pushed because this computer went and I had to reset the operating system. So somebody asked, is this Monday meditation, breathe in, breathe out woman? Yes, it's Momo Mondays. Somebody said Shaun of the Dead. We're just fanning it up here, aren't we? Which is cool. I love this stuff. We'll do more Friday, okay? Does anybody have oh, good. Someone else likes Lionel too. Yay. I like when people on TV never use the mouse when hacking or even just use it. I love I'm a loud typer, but there's a definite difference between typing quickly and loudly. I'm a rage typer for sure, but you can tell when someone's really typing and someone's really not. Yeah, you guys, I guess you came in too late. You missed Zelda. Zelda made a little appearance, and she's very cute. Oh man, that cat can jump. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna wrap because I need to be on the radio in like 24 minutes. Thanks for the surprisingly large number of people who tuned in for this. I really appreciate it. If somebody keeps saying don't do Monday breathing, I'm gonna do it just to annoy you, because I'm like that. But yes, the Kickstarter is a third funded as we speak, which is pretty awesome. Is it officially a third funded? Let's check dashboard. Dashboard. Oh, you kicked me out? Screw you, Kickstarter. I keep doing that. Yeah, you guys see, as of now, there's no docs here, is there? Never. As you guys see, it is 34% funded. As of now, we're a third of the way there, and we've been live since about 8 a.m., so 5 hours now. Go, 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 go. Keep going. Yeah, we can do this. Wouldn't it be awesome if this thing funded in like 24 hours? Too much to hope for. Like, for me, I didn't expect that. But yeah, you guys are great. You guys have been awesome. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Now people are spamming the OK symbols, which is not a white supremacist symbol. Yeah, one last question, if there is one, and then we'll go. A Super Bunny Hop stream to promote the Kickstarter. I will think about that. I'll Google Super Bunny Hop. I admit I don't know what that is. Everybody share. I had a lot more shares in the original video, but people said take it out. It sends the wrong message. So, garbage fresh face. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much. Thanks for watching and all that good stuff. Breathe in. And out. Jazz hands. And breathe in. And